If you can still smell gravy in a Zellers Cafeteria or hear someone shouting Homeburgers, this video is going to hit you right in the childhood. Canada used to have its own fast food scene. Before every plaza had the same 5 chains, we had our places. The burger joint in the strip mall that smelled like charcoal from the parking lot. The pizza place where your high school crew hung out after the game. The cafeteria where your mom took you shopping on Saturday and you'd split fries with gravy. Then the American chains showed up with their drive-thrus and their billion-dollar marketing. And one by one, our places disappeared. Some got bought out, some expanded too fast, some just couldn't compete. Today, we're talking about 10 of them, the ones that shaped what eating out meant if you grew up here. Let's go. Frank Vetere's was the place in Toronto. If you grew up in Ontario in the 80s and early 90s, you knew the name Vitere's, not Vetere's. Say it right. It wasn't fancy, just good, thick-crust pizza served with drinks in glass steins right at the table. The restaurants had dark wood booths, dim lighting, and that unmistakable pizza oven smell the moment you opened the door. You went there before Leafs games, made it a tradition. You went there after school. Birchmount and Ellesmere was legendary for high schoolers who'd skip afternoon classes for a stein or 3 and just hang out. The pizza had that slightly sweet sauce Canadians loved, and the booths felt like they belonged to you. Frank Vetere himself wasn't happy when Foodex started selling locations to Pizza Hut. He said they did it out of greed, not need, and he was right. By the mid-90s, Frank Vetere's was gone. Sold off, erased. If you ever sat in one of those booths with a stein of Coke and a slice in your hand, you can still taste it. While Frank Vetere's was feeding the after-school crowd in dark booths, another chain was serving up burgers in bright strip mall bakeries across the province. Bunsmaster was a bakery and burger joint that lived in strip malls across Ontario and Western Canada. Small restaurants, nothing fancy. But the burgers? Flame-broiled perfection. And those fries, always crispy. If you grew up near one, you know that smell. Fresh bread baking in the morning. Char-grilled burgers by lunchtime. You could smell it from the parking lot. Some people remember it as just a bakery, buying fresh buns and sourdough every Tuesday like clockwork. Others remember the burger side. Quick lunch, hot food, no frills. Either way, Bunsmaster tried to compete with the big American chains in the 80s, but they just didn't have the marketing muscle or the money. People wanted drive-thrus and Happy Meals and Ronald McDonald. Bunsmaster had good food. That wasn't enough anymore. By the early 90s, most locations closed. A few still exist. There's one in Guelph, one in Richmond, BC, maybe Langley. But the chain itself is gone. If you ever walked into a Bunsmaster and smelled that bakery air mixing with grilled beef, you remember. But if you wanted something completely different, something loud and colorful and covered in sombreros, there was Chi-Chi's. Chi-Chi's wasn't Canadian, but Canadians loved it. Through the 80s and 90s, Chi-Chi's was the place for Tex-Mex, before anyone even called it Tex-Mex. The restaurants were loud, colorful, covered in sombreros and fake cacti. You got free tortilla chips at the table, endless bowls of salsa. You pretended it was someone's birthday just so the staff would come over and do the birthday dance. The margaritas were massive, like fishbowl sized. The nachos were ridiculous. And that fried ice cream? Legendary. One viewer said they'd fake birthdays just for that dance, and honestly, same. You went there for actual birthdays, for after-work drinks, for any excuse to eat chips and salsa until your jaw hurt. Families packed the place on weekends. It felt like a party, even on a Tuesday night. But Chi-Chi's couldn't survive the 2000s. A hepatitis outbreak in the U.S., completely unrelated to Canada, destroyed the brand. The chain filed for bankruptcy, and even though Canadian locations weren't involved, the damage was done. By 2004, every location was closed. If you ever sat in one of those booths, dipping chips and pretending it was your birthday, you remember how it felt to be there. Now, if Chi-Chi's was where you went for a party, Zellers Restaurant was where you went for something completely different. Comfort, simplicity, and that smell of coffee and gravy that just meant home. Zellers wasn't just a department store. It had a restaurant inside, the Skillet, or just Zellers Restaurant, depending on where you lived. You didn't go there for gourmet food. You went there because you were shopping with your mom and your feet hurt and you needed a break. You sat at a booth or a counter stool, ordered a grilled cheese or a club sandwich, watched the kitchen staff work behind the counter. It smelled like coffee and frying oil and comfort. The plates were thick and plain. The menu was simple: burgers, fries, gravy, grilled cheese. And that grilled cheese with fries and gravy, best in the country, hands down, no competition. One viewer wrote, "I can still smell the gravy and hear the coffee cups clinking." And honestly, same. Some Zellers locations even had bingo games announced right there in the cafeteria while you ate. It was ordinary. It was comforting. It was ours. When Zellers started closing in the 2000s and eventually sold most stores to Target, the restaurants went with them. By 2013, Zellers was mostly gone, and so were those little diners. If you thought you were the only one who remembers that cafeteria, you're not. People still talk about it like a Mandela effect, like maybe we all dreamed it. But we didn't. If you ever sat in a Zellers booth with a tray of fries and gravy, you remember how good ordinary could be. While Zellers cafeterias were feeding tired shoppers in quiet comfort, something louder and way more fun was happening across Ontario. And if you ever walked into Lick's, you know exactly what I mean. Lick's was loud. Walk into any location and the staff would start singing. Homeburgers! They had custom songs for everything, bright uniforms. The whole place felt like controlled chaos, but people loved it. Lick's served gourmet burgers before gourmet burger was even a thing in Canada. Fresh ingredients, creative toppings, sauces you couldn't get anywhere else. The gook sauce became legendary. People still talk about it. The fries came in a paper bag, hot and greasy and perfect. The whole experience was a show. If you went to Humberside CI in Toronto, the Lick's in High Park was your spot. Everyone knew it. The location at Yonge and Dundas was packed every day until the city expropriated the area for Yonge Dundas Square. That one hurt. Lick's struggled to grow beyond its core fan base. The novelty wore off for some people. The singing got old. Locations started closing in the 2000s. A couple franchises tried to keep it alive. There's still one near Perry Sound on the 400 if you're heading to cottage country. But by 2015, Lick's was mostly a memory. If you ever heard the staff sing your order at full volume, you've never forgotten it. But before Lick's was singing to customers in the 90s, there was another chain with a jingle Canadians couldn't forget. Red Barn was an American chain, but it had a strong run in Ontario from the 70s into the early 80s. The buildings looked like barns, red brick, that distinctive sloped roof you could spot from the highway. Inside you got burgers, fried chicken, and shakes. And if you remember the jingle, it's still in your head. When the hungries hit the Red Barn. Kids loved it. The cartoon menu in the 70s with the bright colors and goofy mascots. The Big Barney burger that people swear was better than a Big Mac. The garlic fried chicken that came in a basket. The onion rings. People still say they were the best they ever had. You went there when you were 6, got a cheeseburger and a chocolate shake. And it felt like a treat, a real treat. Your parents took you after hockey, after shopping, just because. But Red Barn couldn't keep up with McDonald's and Burger King. They had the money, and the drive-thrus, and the Happy Meals. By the mid-'80s, most Canadian locations were gone. Some got converted to other restaurants, some got torn down. There's still one building standing in Mississauga. It's a Mr. Sub now at 1730 Dundas East. But you can still see that red brick and that distinctive roof if you know what you're looking for. If you ever sat under that roof with a chicken basket or those legendary onion rings, you remember. While Red Barn was feeding families along Ontario highways, another American chain was trying to win over Canadians one donut at a time, and for a while they actually had a shot. Dunkin' Donuts tried to make it here. In the 80s and 90s, they had locations across Canada, especially in Quebec. They were a legit competitor to Tim Hortons for a while. The coffee was different, smoother, some people said. The donuts were classic American style, a little denser, a little sweeter. But Tim Hortons was Canadian. Tim Hortons had the loyalty, the branding, the cultural grip on the country. Dunkin' was the outsider. And in the battle for Canadian coffee and donuts, Dunkin' lost. Tim Hortons won what one commenter called the brainwashing battle. And honestly, that's not wrong. Dunkin' pulled out of most of Canada by the late 90s. A few Quebec locations hung on for a while, but eventually those closed too. It's strange now to think Dunkin' Donuts was ever on Canadian streets. If you ever bought a coffee there instead of Tim's, you were in the minority. But you remember the difference. Speaking of road trips and highway stops, there was one orange roof every Canadian family knew. Howard Johnson's wasn't Canadian. It was American through and through. But Canadians knew it as the place you stopped on road trips, the orange roofs. You'd see them from the highway and know exactly where you were going. The turquoise booths inside, the fried clam strips and shoestring fries, the ice cream sundaes with those sugar cookie fans stuck in the top. Hojo's had the best clam chowder. People still say that. And if you stopped there on the way to cottage country in the 70s or 80s, you remember that orange roof like a landmark, a signal that you were almost there. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, Hojo's was everywhere, reliable, iconic, family-friendly. But by the 90s, tastes changed. Fast food got faster. Casual dining got cheaper and trendier. Howard Johnson's started to feel dated. And honestly, the quality slipped. What used to be good became, as one person put it, 21st century slop. By the 2000s, Canadian locations were gone. A couple still exist in the U.S., but up here, it's just a memory. If your family ever stopped at a Howard Johnson's and you got that ice cream sundae with the cookie fan, you remember. Now, if Howard Johnson's felt like classic Americana, there was a chain in the 90s that felt like stepping into Europe without leaving downtown Toronto. Richtree Market and Movenpick Marché were upscale food courts before food courts were cool. You walked through the space like a European market, picked food from different stations, fresh pasta, grilled meats, crisp salads, those rosti potatoes that were crispy on the outside and soft in the middle. Everything was made in front of you, cooked to order. It felt European, a little fancy, very 90s. The location at Yonge and Front in Toronto, right across from the Hockey Hall of Fame, was packed every day with office workers and downtown shoppers. It was fast, but it didn't feel like fast food. It felt like you were somewhere else. The problem? Rent was expensive. The model didn't scale outside major cities. Movenpick pulled out of Canada. Richtree tried to keep it going but couldn't sustain it. By the 2010s, most locations were closed. If you ever walked through one of those market setups with a tray in your hands, building your own meal and watching them cook your rosti right there in front of you, you remember how different it felt. But long before upscale food courts and European-style markets, there was a place that defined what it meant to go out for Italian food in Ontario. Mother's Pizza was a Toronto institution. Started in the late 50s and became the place for pizza and spaghetti across Ontario. The restaurants were casual, loud, and packed with families every single night. The pizza was thick and cheesy and unapologetically Canadian in style. The spaghetti came with meatballs the size of baseballs. You could get floats in tall glasses, and some people still have those glasses at home in their cupboards. It felt like going to your Italian friend's house for dinner, if their house seated 200 people and had a jukebox. Mother's was where you got your first job in high school, slinging pizzas, clearing tables, learning what it meant to work. It was where families went after shopping downtown or after a movie. It was cheaper than Frank Vetere's, but some people said it was just as good. Mother's expanded across Ontario and even into the U.S., but that expansion was the problem. They grew too fast. Quality slipped, debt piled up. The menu got bigger, but the food got worse. By the 80s, Mother's was in trouble. Locations started closing. By the 90s, the chain was gone. If you ever twirled spaghetti on a plate at Mother's, or worked a Friday night shift there in high school, or grabbed one of those floats in the tall glass, you remember the chaos, the energy, and the taste. These places weren't just restaurants. They were markers in our lives. The smell of fries after a hockey win, a first date at Lick's, a road trip pit stop at Hojo's, shopping with your mom and stopping for grilled cheese at Zellers, your first job at Mother's, high school hangouts at Frank Vetere's. They weren't just serving food, they were part of the fabric of growing up in Canada. Globalization changed everything. Drive-thrus became standard. Big American chains moved in with endless budgets and marketing machines. Local flavor got squeezed out, store by store, year by year. It's not that the food was always better back then, it's that it was ours. These places had personality. They had history. They knew the neighborhoods they served, and the neighborhoods knew them back. And now, they're gone. Buildings converted to Mr. Subs, parking lots where Red Barns used to be, float glasses in your cupboard from Mother's, memories of singing staff and cartoon menus and the smell of gravy, they vanished. But those moments, they still live somewhere deep in us. Tell me in the comments which one you miss the most. And if I missed your favorite, let me know. I want to hear your stories. And if you want more trips down memory lane like this, hit subscribe. Let's keep these memories alive together.